Anyway, so I'm going to get started because now Jonathan's been able to join us because I guess he's got the PowerPoint. Is that correct, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's right. I'm happy to share the screen if you guys are ready to see it.
Okay. So again, the idea today was Miles and I went and attended a meeting that Matthias kind of hosted for the Business Improvement District for downtown Hilo. And the idea, well, I'll let you guys share more of it, but the idea is Kona did this several years back, what, almost a decade ago, or is it longer? I don't even know. But basically the idea is to clean up the area. It's a, well, I won't get into it. I'll let you guys get into it. But Matthias, I'll let you go ahead and introduce Jonathan. But also Nimmer is on the team too. So thank you guys all very much for coming, and take it away, Matthias.
Thanks, you guys. And, you know, I wanted to say these Hawaii Island Chamber of Commerce lunchtime meetings really do have an impact. And, you know, you talked about Dr. Belcher's talk last time. And look what's in the headlines. Josh Green is looking to cut that 4%, which was one of her top priorities. So everybody remember, it came from these meetings. So thank you for that. The Downtown Business Improvement District is something I got invited and involved with, and through Nimmer and Roy Takimoto, who've been both working on it for many years, and Garth Yamanaka has really been involved with it from the chamber as well. And it is a really good concept. I love it. I'm going to let Jonathan jump into it. He runs that Loihi Studios, which is really an event organization enterprise. So I met, he and I met through my campaign for District 2. And I was really impressed with how he had organized a lot of the merchants along the Keawe Street corridor. If you go down on a Friday night in downtown, and you'll see, you know, I don't see any of us looking like we're in our 20s, but there's a lot of 20, 30-year-olds out there. It's well attended, and it's a lot of that is attributed to Jonathan's organization of the businesses down there, creating events, and so really impressed. He's based out of Amigos Cantina, and he became a Hilo Bid steering member, along with, you know, myself and Nimmer. So he's going to take this PowerPoint on from here. He's got, quote, skin in the game, and I hope to just kind of recede back and just be an interested and supporter of downtown Hilo. That's all you, Jonathan.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you for the intro, Matthias. I think one of the first questions I want to make sure is clear to everybody is, what does the BID do, or Business Improvement District? And it's a nonprofit corporation, and it would have a designated service area. We'll show you a map later on in the presentation. The agenda of the bid is made up of the member businesses. They are represented through a board of directors. We'll talk about that structure more in a minute. But essentially, it allows the downtown area to self-govern, to set their agenda for services and improvements in conjunction with the county and services that are already provided. We mentioned Kailua Village is an example of a successful bid. They started in 2007. They're the third bid in the state. Waikiki is another one. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of bids nationwide. Kailua Village's vision statement for their bid was to create a model, a sustainable community that's a better place to invest, work, live, and play. Businesses in that area, see improved revenues as a result. What's the difference between the bid and the DIA? This is one of the most common questions that we get. The bid has the ability to apply for grants, organize and pay for services, and even make capital improvements. At this time, the DIA's main focus seems to be on events and advertising for their members, and thus we can work together, but we do have separate areas of focus. The property owners in the area and businesses would come together through election process to form a board of directors. A few seats are held by county. The exact number that are held for property owners versus like leasees and businesses hasn't been set yet, but to give you an idea, in Kailua Village, 8 board seats are reserved for the property owners and 7 for the member businesses. There are also in the board non-voting seats held by Public Works and Finance Department for their designee, and voting members including the mayor and county council for District 2 for their designee. That board sets the agenda and goals, and a management team would carry those out and report back. The management team is able to work with the actual service providers and contractors doing the day-to-day operations, provide oversight and guidance to them. How does all this get paid for? Very important question, right? One of the things that bids can do is an assessment upon the landowners in the area. And what we're looking at right now is an assessment of the same rate across all the zones, but different services. We'll get into that more on the next slide. Exempt from it are residential properties, government properties, and nonprofit properties. The bid's able to supplement that assessment with grants, donations, or other sources. The proposed assessment is $1.50 per $1,000 of net tax assessed value. That would create an initial budget of about $349,000. And each landowner, on average, that comes to about $900 per year per parcel. We've done a lot of work with the community to figure out how they would want to see that used. And this budget is a draft. It's still being developed, but safety, cleanliness, and landscaping were the largest concern. Homeless outreach was next. And then there's some administration costs and events also planned. The board, which hasn't been elected yet, would set the final budget. These are the steering committee's feedback to that initial board. They would make the final determination. Services, getting into a little more detail on that. The steering committee believes in a homeless outreach coordinator who could help the homeless population of the area gain access to the services that are already available to them. Possibly also creating a day work opportunities for those that are able to work and have them help with the cleanliness in downtown. Also, foot patrols to report crimes such as drinking, drug use. We have a lot of graffiti right now, reporting that through the Aloha ambassadors or security team. The most important capital improvements that the community's brought to the steering committee's attention so far are the need for public restrooms in downtown, as well as additional parking. The bid's also able to work with county programs that are already in place, such as the multimodal plan, mass transit plans, and building renovations. And here is the map, and I'm going to try and make this a little bigger for you guys.
Jonathan, maybe if you go full screen.
Yeah, because that's going the opposite direction. Is that helping at all?
Much better.
Okay, thank you. So this area right here is zone 1. And remember, all the zones get assessed the same value in the first year, but the services requested by the landowners and businesses in those areas are different, and that's why we have the different zones. And so this comes from Bayfront up to Kapiolani, from Wailuku Drive to Ponahawaii Street, and then zone 2 from Ululani to Kilauea, but including the opposite side of the street there, between Ponahawaii and Hualalai. And then the businesses along Kilauea and, sorry, I forget the name of the street, but this is the Lagoon Center.
Opuni.
Yeah, thank you, Opuni, are zone 3. To give you an idea, over in zone 1, the major concerns were security and homelessness. And as we get over here, correct me if I'm wrong, but litter and cleanliness was the bigger concern in this area. And so that's why there's a need to create different service plans for the different areas, but maintain a single organization for supporting downtown in general. I'll pause for a minute because I know the map draws a lot of questions. Does anybody have something on the map that they want to ask or discuss?
Jonathan, this is Nimmer. Maybe just a couple more comments. So this map is currently getting revised. So Roy's working on updating it right now, and it's going to be part of the bill that's being pushed forward. So there was a lot of discussion about including both sides of the streets as part of the bid, so that one side of the street would get service and the other doesn't, but one side pays for it and the other doesn't. There's a little bit of question or a little bit of concern there. So the more updated map will include both sides of the streets. And also too, just to let you know, the different colored properties in here, the gray properties or the dark brown, whatever that color is. I'm not good at colors, but those, I believe, are government-owned properties that will be exempt from the fee. And then the tan colored properties, those are residential. And I believe those are also exempt from the fees. And the reason for having the multiple zones was just to allow the flexibility of charging different rates for different areas, because the needs may be different, as Jonathan pointed out, in different areas. So it gives them the flexibility now, instead of having to amend the bid later on to adjust rates. Each of these districts, these services can be catered directly to what their needs are, and the assessments will be determined based on what those needs may be. So just a little bit more clarification there. Thank you.
Thanks, Nimmer. I got a quick question. I rent in one of those areas. So the question becomes, I would assume it's the property owner that would get charged, and then they could decide whether to pass it on as CAM as part of your rent, that type of thing. Is that how that would work?
That's correct, Keith. I'm in the same situation with both of our businesses, and that's how that would work.
Okay.
Just to give you some context, for Amigos Cantina, my girlfriend's business, if the landlord chose to pass it on, it would come out to maybe $100 a month or so for her. And our general feeling with the cantina is that if, better safety, better cleanliness doesn't increase by much more than $100 a month, we're not doing something right for our business. That may not be true for everybody, but that was kind of our perspective there. Any other questions on the map? I'll have some more time at the end if you don't think of something now. We can always come back up to it.
Yeah, aloha, Jonathan. This is Kapono Paul with Salvio Realty. I had a quick question. I actually just got off the phone with my broker. We have a office building down there on Kino'ole. And I guess his question regarding the proposed assessment, which I think on one of the slides you had shown as like $1.50 per $1,000 in value. Is that what it was? But
per thousand of net assessed tax value. Yeah.
Okay. And so then the question was the list of services and whatnot that could be provided by that special assessment. Why is that not something that the county is already providing? And it's probably not even a question for you, but it's a question that he had. And why we need to take it upon ourselves in this special district to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's probably one of the most common ones. There's a lot of reasons why the bid can coordinate and supplement what the county already does. So picking a good one to start with here.
You want to jump in, John?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
So Kapono, one of the things with taxation, right, and it's a familiar situation where the downtown has a higher valuation, and so it generates a relatively higher tax base for its geographic area. And a lot of that money from that tax base flows to areas that have no bearing on downtown. It might go to roads in Puna or Ka'u. And the same could be said for the people over in Kukio, pay a high share of tax, real property tax that then flows to East Hawaii and services our needs. And so the nature of taxation is that it goes to a general fund and spreads out. So because of that, it's difficult for because everybody could argue your position, correct? I spent my taxes and my road out in front is lousy, or has no sidewalks, or the cops never come. And that's a familiar complaint about people. So the county has to kind of spread those services out everywhere. The bid allows for kind of self-determination, and it's an advocacy for the area, for the specific area, and it can actually take action and not have the go through the bureaucratic cogwheels of government to upgrade security, to upgrade cleaning, and work in, like at Kailua Village, they work in concert with county resources. And one of the, as Jonathan mentioned, is that this is brought up a lot. I pay a lot of property taxes. Where are my services? They're there, just you don't notice them because it's the police presence in Pahoa or that substation in Hawaiian Ocean View Estates. And so this is one way to focus those services right on you. And but it does come with a cost. Does that answer? Let
me add on that if I can, Matthias.
Yeah, I think that does answer my question. I just don't want the question to turn into, once this bid is created, kind of like a homeowners association or a road maintenance association in many of the subdivisions we have in Puna. People are paying the dues, but nothing's being done. The money is just turning into a black hole. So I don't want a different black hole of, things not getting done, because it's run by, people who live in the area. We always hope for the best intention. History has proven in many cases that not to be the case. I'm totally not against this idea. I'm totally for it, but just wanted to raise that concern.
Let me give you some good, some additional points to support that, Kapono. So one of the examples, I'll bring up the next slide here to kind of illustrate it. So this is the cover from the multimodal plan. And without some local support, there's a decent chance that they won't put in the garden beds, right? Because of the maintenance required in them, right? And that, as a local business owner, is appealing to me. It raises my property value. It brings in more people to my business, but the county needs some support with it. Another example, this is probably one of the more stronger ones for having security as a component of it, is that If the police do a drive-by and there's a homeless person sleeping on the doorstep of my business, they can't do anything until I get there and I call them, right? But the businesses can opt in to allow the bid security personnel to call on their behalf. That makes sense? And then the police can come in because they have a representative of that business to make adjustments.
And Capona, to further on your point about the the bid is a 15-member organization it's supported by the county. It's from a state law, Chapter 35, and so it has some pretty good teeth, and it has a 5-year sunset. So in 5 years, if it's that black hole, and hopefully it's not because it's been successful elsewhere, it can be dissolved.
And the Articles of Incorporation will decide how the Hilo bid is board operates, and that hasn't been built yet. Using Kailua as an example, their 15-member board has alternating terms. A term is 2 years, and they can do 3 terms in a row before they have to have at least a 2-term break. So it gives you what they're trying to do in them being the successful model is have a board that has enough steady members to have to be able to do something. Everyone's not new and learning the ropes all the time, right? But enough turnover so that you avoid like nepotism. I'm going to go ahead and continue on now. We'll have time for more questions in just a few slides here. So talking about the multimodal plan for people who might not be familiar, this is based on a study that the county had done a while back, and it's their kind of vision for the downtown area, looking at things like more parking, bike racks, crosswalks, maybe parking an area and walking to the businesses and getting to see all the business along the way to your original destination. Coming up in the near future, converting Keawe Street to bi-directional traffic, bringing in a bike share program. The transportation is looking at putting in a trolley route that would go through zones 1, 2, and 3 to facilitate, we have kind of a spread out downtown, right? And so to facilitate that, for people who don't want to walk. And then also, how can they set up a employee parking area outside of downtown and maybe some shuttles to help those people get to work, but leaving the closer parking available to potential consumers. And one of the nice things that I like about having the bid is that we would be able to go and as a unit, representative unit, and give feedback to the county on that plan, right? Talking about how we got to this point and where we're going from here. When the steering committee started, we sent out letters to the businesses and landowners in the area, guiding them to a survey. We did door-to-door flyer distribution as well. And we held 2 public meetings in October, all of these feeding into both the survey and letting member businesses and owners know what is being proposed and to collect their feedback on it. The first reading will be December 21st in front of County Council. And then the public hearing in February, I believe it's the 6th, but I'm not 100% on that. I need to go check the calendar. Followed by a second reading and vote, forming the ordinance. And then at this point, the corporation can be formed and the first board elected. So a lot of what you're seeing here as far as budgeting is what the steering committee would be proposing to that first board. Through that process, we've had a number of common questions and answers. One of the great ones that came out of that process was, as Nimmer said, should the zone boundaries include both sides of the street? As we've discussed in the presentation, why are there different zones? Landscaping is another common one, and in Kailua Village, you'll see a lot of trees and things that make it a nice place to walk and move around. And those are things that the county left unattended until the bid took them on, and that affects people's valuations, right? And so, as a business owner, I want to see the areas around my business maintained, and I'm willing to chip in for that. Me personally. The multimodal plan requires behavior changes as far as slowing down traffic and more walking. And during these public hearings, we had opportunity for the planning department to come out and speak to that. And education is part of that plan. They're not going to just move the parking and say good luck, guys. They have some plans to help ease us into that new concept. How long will the bid formation process take? So after the public hearing, approximately, including the public hearing, about 60 to 90 days. And the trolley, they're looking at an open air bus and shuttle. And just last night, I reached out to John and threw some more suggestions at him, maybe a more dedicated route between the port and Banyan Drive and downtown. And one thing I liked about working with him is, willingness to look at the idea and see if there was a way to make it possible and if it would be feasible and used.
And when you say John, you mean John Ando, Director of Mass Transit?
That's right, Matthias, yeah. And then the mayor and representative during the public hearings stated that, generally in favor of the goals to create a thriving and sustainable community in downtown, and that it would need to be community driven and desire to be part of that conversation. And now I can open it up to more questions. We have a lot of details behind these, but I thought it'd be good to start with a general overview and then dig in where you guys are most concerned or curious.
Hey, Jonathan, I have a question.
Hey, Miles.
How has the buy-in been from the property owners? What kind of percentage are you guys looking at right now?
Yeah, I don't have the statistic on percentage. I can give you some qualitative info. There are more in favor than against in the feedback that we've received. The ones who are against, their main argument was that these are things the county should be doing, and they don't want to pay extra for it. The ones generally in favor have appreciated having more support around security, cleanliness, and support for the homeless, and then just being able to have their own say in how downtown is developed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there are results of the survey on the BID's website, and that might give you some more statistical information.
And the website, helobid.org.
Put that here.
Jonathan, this is Alan Okinaka. A question. What kind of ideas are you putting together to make downtown attraction to, I don't know how to put it. Well, when I visited Granville Island in Canada, it was a complete destination. You know, it's a destination to visit. They had a whole bunch of things to do there. I can't wait to go back again after visiting there a couple of times. I used to visit downtown Hilo because my favorite coffee shop was there. And there was a nice bar to go. And I had meetings with the chamber every so often at the old Bank of Hawaii building. But all of those things are gone now. So I have no reason to go down there. Even the farmer's market is not attractive anymore. So I haven't gone down. I'm just wondering, you know, are there things, some magical things that we need to put together to make the local people want to go downtown and do shopping?
Yeah, there's a couple. I don't know if we'll call them magic or not, Alan. But this week I got to have a personal tour with the manager for the Kailua Village bid. Spent more than an hour with me, taking me through the bid, showing me the changes that they had made, finding out what had worked and what to kind of stay away from, you know, and where we can kind of get the most results for investments, right? And the number one most important thing that Kailua Village did wasn't even on my radar, and it was essentially setting up a vision that the business owners agreed to, and that was that statement right here. Creating a model sustainable community that's a better place to live, work, invest, work, live, and play. And from that, they came out with a program called Clean and Safe, which is how they were going to achieve that vision, right? And so that portion of the budget designed to cleaning up the graffiti, right? And straightening up the broken sidewalks, and you know, addressing, helping the homeless get services where services are available, getting them off the doorsteps, and then reporting crime when it happens. You know, I said, why do you need to, if you've got 200 shop owners here, why do you have to have security, right? He says, well, the shop owner is busy trying to make the sale. They're not going to go out and call because some guy's doing drugs a block down, right? But that's where that security can come in and allow the police to come in and do their job, right? So clean and safe is a big part of it. It really comes down to branding. They came up with this logo right away, and they ran marketing, and a lot of the marketing is visible. I wish I'd had a better shot of it, but they have signage, right, that talks about why Ali'i Drive is important, talk about the history of Ali'i Drive. We have a little bit over on the Kamehameha statue. Instead of having 12 different realtor on the side of each street, they have one big one that provides space for all of those realtors, and they actually generate money off of that. The realtors pay to be in it. But it creates a nice look. You know, as I did the tour with him, what I came to realize is that in a way it's kind of like going to Disneyland, right? Where you have a nice area to walk around, but it's themed out. And that was Kailua Village's model. I don't know that that's what Hilo wants, but I think the key thing is having a vision that unites everybody, right? Having a plan for achieving it. I think clean and safe makes a lot of sense. And then branding Hilo as a destination for people, both tourists and locals. And I think the businesses who follow that are going to be the ones that are successful and, you know, bring back that bar. And you're right, there's not a good coffee shop right now. And I can't find a breakfast burrito anywhere, but I think those things will come with what the bid can offer.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I was just curious. So it sounds like we solicited feedback and input from business owners. I'm just, was wondering, what about like the general public, and what specifically, what kind of things are they looking for, and do they necessarily line up with what business owners would like to happen downtown?
So are you referring to the residents, inside the area, or more like the wider Hilo area?
Well, I'm thinking more so for for visitors. I mean, just kind of to reiterate Alan's point, personally, like, in the last year, I've witnessed a robbery, an overdose. I've been assaulted downtown. It's not, my priority would be security. And so, I just don't know. I'm wondering if there's a mismatch there, and if we've asked the input from folks generally in Hilo who visit the downtown.
Yeah, I know that in our meetings we discussed general public feedback. Nimmer or Matthias, do either of you remember?
Yeah, Jonathan,
on that topic?
I can help on that question. So maybe a little bit more background, Justin. The bid in Kona has hired a group called Block by Block. And what they do is they provide services within that community. One is cleaning up after the messes that are there created by the homeless people. Part of it's also security too. And primarily, as far as the survey that we put out, we had opened it up to people that were not necessarily just owners of the businesses or owners of property, but general public and also employees of these businesses. And generally, predominantly, it's been about the homeless issue and parking. Those are predominantly it. As Jonathan mentioned, there's talk about restroom facilities and stuff like that. But so in answering to your question, yes, we have input from owners, we have input from business owners, and we do have input from community. I mean, more input would be better, but we do have some input there. And by hiring a group like Block by Block to administer but at least maintain the downtown area to the standards that the bid would like to see. That will help with some of these issues that you were talking about the homeless issue, the assaults and the security and some of the issues that the community has brought up and also the business owners in that area. Does that help answer your question? I'm sorry, the mute's on, Justin.
Yeah, no, that was helpful. And then, if they wanted to contribute further input, I'm guessing there's a way to contact the organization.
Yeah, I think the key, Justin, to this whole thing, I mean, for everybody, is really who is put on to the bid board of directors, because it's about people helping people. So if you have a group of people that don't do anything, you're going to have that black hole that you talk about and nothing happens. So I think the community is going to have to be very mindful on who they put there. People that are dedicated to what the bid is about. But not only that, people that have innovation that can help find ways to attract more people into the community, people that are interactive with the community so they understand what the needs are there. So to me, I think that's the most important part about this. All the setup, everything that we've gone through the last 6-8 months will be technically for nothing if we don't have a good group of people administering this, and the bid's not going to go much further than where we've come today. So again, as you guys being part of the community, it's going to be important to identify the right people to put on this board and get them making the decisions that you need them to make and doing the job that you need them to do. So sorry, just my 2 cents about that. Sorry about that.
I think too,
yeah, no, that's great.
Go ahead, Justin.
No, I was saying, no, that's a great point. So I appreciate that.
And I'll add on to that. I'm happy to meet with anybody privately to discuss it further. I've got one of those meetings at 3 o'clock today, another one next week.
And my 2 cents on all of this, the overarching thing that really attracted me to the bid when I first learned about it, and my affiliation with downtown through the multimodal plan and Hilo Bayfront Trails is I love the fact that it's much more nimble and self-determining in its needs. And so, Justin, to your point, you know, if they want to spend $3,000 and send out a survey to the larger community, like, what is your vision? Or of these four visions, what do you like the best? Or, you know, all sorts of ways to provide input. They could run a content. I mean, there's, you know, once you get thinking about this and create subcommittees on security action plans or subcommittees on parking, and I really feel like it's going to be much more nimble, and you don't have the lengthy process that you have with county or state government. And then it also is such a good advocacy, you know, a legitimate entity recognized by the county and state as an advocate for building permit reform, or, you know, possibly making headway into all these things, you know, with FEMA. You know, I think there's a lot of opportunity that I can only personally speculate at this point, and it would take time to drill down and suss those opportunities out. But downtown Hilo, I mean, you have friends in Honolulu and stuff like that. Everybody knows it. It's really, nobody ever takes a picture of the mall. Welcome to Hilo. It's always our downtown. It's really the picturesque representation of Hawaii Island. So I feel very positive, and I'm hopeful it'll attract all those good people Neimer talked about to the board, and they take action.
Does the DIA have a vision for downtown Hilo?
I'm not on the DIA, and I don't know. I do know that they support the members I know in leadership there. And I know that they haven't been as active as they once were. You know, just going to their website, I think a lot of the stuff is from like 2018, 2017.
Yeah. Alan, this is Neimer. We have been working with DIA on this. They've been involved with it from the start. So they are aware and in support of everything that we're doing to set up the bid, and they are in support of the bid.
So they're not an integral part of this whole effort then. They're sort of.
I think, as Jonathan pointed out, not necessarily the paths, but the responsibility or what they're doing and what the bid does are complementary, but they don't overlap. So they do two different things.
Oh. Yeah, I thought they were an integral part of what you were doing.
They might be in the future. You never know. But currently, the steering was Kay Howe. Was she? She wasn't part of the DIA, right?
No, she wasn't part of the DIA. She's a steering committee member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might emphasize that point too with some of the business owners, because I personally, yeah, at least some of my clients who operate downtown, I hate to say it, but I feel like they've kind of written off the DIA. And so, you know, I'm not saying, you know, to separate yourself from the DIA, but I mean, just to emphasize that this is kind of, you know, a separate path, you know, separate momentum. So.
Thank you for that, Justin.
Yeah. Question, the multimodal plan, is there a time frame for that? Do we have any idea? Because we know how state and county are always very prompt about everything they do. So what are we talking here? Like 5 years, 10 years? What anybody have any idea?
Jonathan, maybe I can take this one. So Keith, been meeting with the Department of Public Works on that and Planning Department on that. So there actually is no plan to implement any multimodal plan at this time.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive it right now. So we've had meetings with the Planning Department, and we created a wish list of what from this multimodal plan we'd like to implement and how to phase that. So with that, we're pending a meeting with the DPW to see what we're going to do or what they will be able to handle and how we strategize it, because funding is important, and the funding mechanisms are very complicated. I mean, there's funding for roads that are separate from infrastructure, and the timing on the grants and all that stuff. I mean, it's incredible how complicated it is. So that's why it's kind of a mess, but we are working towards that. What the bid can do is it could provide additional, I want to say horsepower, but additional pressure on the government agencies to help make this happen. The way it sits right now, as all the independent owners of the businesses in downtown, this bid will allow them a conduit to provide their political influence, for lack of a better term, to get some of these things done. So now this becomes a priority for the community because the bid is championing it. Right now, it's not, because nobody's championing it, because everybody's waiting for the county to do it. So a prime example of the difference in just leaving things up to the county to do versus having the bid involved in trying to get things done for that community.
A good example of that already happening is yesterday, one of the other steering committee members and I met with Jen Kagiwara to talk about the bid and where it's at and what it could potentially do.
Right. And so I see that making a lot of sense. And that's kind of why I asked, because you were bringing it up. I'm like, well, is there a plan beyond, hey, we got pictures? Okay. Thanks, Nimmer.
Nimmer, I was told that the 2-lane bidirectional conversion of Keawe was supposed to happen in fall 23.
No, it's not going to happen. DPW doesn't want it. They don't think it's going to be beneficial. So there's no plan in doing it right now. And we're not sure if that's something that we're going to push through DPW at this point, but it is something that we are talking to them about. But that, see, the part of the issue, I mean, just for us here, is that there's a lot of stuff in the multimodal plan that DPW does not agree with from just basic engineering standards. It's a great plan. Conceptually, it's awesome, but there are some logistical issues with the plan that make it difficult for it to work. So being the engineers that DPW are, you know, they're saying, hey, this stuff's not going to work, so we can't really do it all. So they just kind of are sitting back on it right now because they don't know how to do it, right? I mean, how do you build something that's actually physically not going to work? So that's some of the issues that we're facing. So having these discussions that the bid's having with DPW and the county and planning, I think will help shake some of this loose so we can work together and find solutions for some of the areas that doesn't work. So it's not a wholesale, no, we're not going to do it, but how do we compromise? How do we work through it so that we can get a lot of this stuff happening? So we have that revitalization there. We've talked to Helco. Helco's willing to go underground, you know, verbally right now. So, you know, we're talking about trying to get all the utilities underground, cleaning up that the street, trying to get better infrastructure there for fire. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done there to help accept or allow for the renovations that are needed down there and the rebeautification, I guess, of the downtown Hilo area. So, sorry, just to give you guys a little bit more information so you know why things are held up the way they are sometimes.
For whatever it's worth, I always thought that Keawe should be closed down and for traffic and turned into a mall area where you can have shops, and then I can have my favorite coffee shop back there again. But anyway, you know, that length all the way from Waianui to what is that? Kona, Hawaii. You know, close that down and turn that into a mall. I think would be great. Then you can have there's a lot of empty spaces right now. You can put in other interesting stores and shops and everything. I would just like to see downtown be a place where a lot of local people would want to go down and not only for shopping, but to have meetings and enjoying conversations and you know, a good place to go kind of thing. So yeah, so I vote for closing down Keawe.
You know, to your point, Alan, I know the Kailua Village bid did that with Ali'i Drive. I think, I forget the frequency now, but they close it down periodically just for that reason. And I think one of Jonathan's slides reflected that, you know, the popularity of that. I think that's it right there.
Yeah. Actually, Sunday. It happens to be the next time.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing that they were able to achieve working with the county. And granted, there's probably a lot of tourists here, it looks like, but it's the kind of thing that can kind of reintroduce locals, people from Hilo, East Hawaii, to downtown again and what might be there, especially if you haven't visited for a while.
Yeah, and Alan, in light of that too, I mean, the downtowns that work are the downtowns that are work, live, and play downtowns. So the intention is to try to start looking at it holistically and seeing what we can do to bring all these components into the downtown area. And if we can do that, it'll attract our people. And that's what we're trying to do. I think Harry Kim told me a long time ago, he said, if you can make the community a community that the locals like, you don't have to worry about tourism and all the additional benefits of business in that area. So, so idea long-term is to try to see what we can do there. What can we do with the housing situation down there? What can we do attracting businesses other than just the regular restaurants and bars downtown, so that we can have people living down there, going downstairs or walking a couple blocks and going to work. And that'll just drastically revitalize our downtown area. The homelessness is a big issue. We have a meeting with Housing and Community Development this afternoon to talk a little bit more about those issues in our downtown area. So there's a lot of stuff going on down there. The bid's a very vital part in the revitalization for that downtown area. So that's, I guess that's kind of where we're at right now. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, but there's some awesome people working on it. So I don't have my fingers crossed. I got a lot of hope. It's going to happen. It's just, we just got to keep tracking day by day, take one step at a time and put one leg in front of the other.
That's great. There's that word, hope. I just finished reading the Book of Hope by Jane Goodall, and boy, it's really important to have that. Yeah, and I worked downtown Honolulu from when 4th Street was a two-way street and to where they closed it down and turned into a mall area. And I know there was a lot of resistance in the beginning, but boy, when they did that, it just changed the whole area. It became a fun place to be at. And so I'd like to see the same thing for downtown Hilo.
Well, I think, one way for all of us to help all these visions move forward, because the bid is a really good receptacle for everybody's hopes and dreams and ideas. There's some great ones out there, is to, support it and direct people who are property owners downtown, business owners downtown, to, check out the hilobid.org and, email us for questions. People like Niemer and Roy Takemoto, I mean, incredible resources on the team to answer questions and move these ideas into actionable items. Jonathan, on the front of that point.
Well, thank you guys so much for spending your time with us and going over this. I think it's needed, and so anything that the chamber can do to support you guys, please let us know, because as we all know, we need a vital downtown Hilo for many reasons, for our businesses and for keeping people here and for bringing people here to want to stay here. So anything we can do, like I said, just let us know. Any last second questions before we go? Otherwise, we will see you guys next month. Anyone else? Thanks, Alan. Thank you, John. Thanks, Niemer. Thanks, Matthias. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Yep. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care.